Good morning, everybody. This is the webinar about management this time. This is the first time about management, so please excuse the mistakes, or maybe the structure of the webinar will be a little bit different than from the technical ones we had before. But this time, I want to talk about stand-up meetings, which are quite popular in software teams, and I believe that they are not really a good thing, but actually a bad thing, which basically instead of helping us to manage the project, they are making the management more difficult, messy, and way more difficult to control and organize. So the stand-up meeting is just a little introduction. The stand-up meeting is probably most of you know what it is, but they are supposed to be organized every day, and the entire team, they're supposed to be in small teams, like up to, I don't know, 15 people. That's what I've seen in my experience. The entire team stands around, well, they stay in circle, sort of, and each person answers basically these three basic questions, like Wikipedia says. These basic questions are, what did you do yesterday? What did you accomplish yesterday? What you gonna do today? And what problems? What are the impediments? What are the obstacles? What problems do you have? And each single person answered these three questions. We just go make a circle. We basically kind of discuss this answer, discuss this information, and then we just go back to our working places and then continue our work. That's what I've seen. That's what I've seen in practice. That's how it happens. And I believe that this technology, this instrument of management, is really doing bad things to all of us, to the entire team. And here's why. First of all, I want to say that there are many articles, discussions about how to make this stand-up meetings better, how to organize them better, how to make them more productive, more effective. I'm not going to say anything about that. I think that in general, they are not the right thing to do. So you can't make them better. You can't organize them better. You can't fix them. This is just the thing which is bad in its nature. And here's my logic. So let me show you the logic. The first, I think that in general, these meetings are used to accomplish three goals: to update, to coordinate, and to motivate. That's what I've seen, and that's what I've seen in practice, and that's what's actually happening. So there are three goals, three objectives, three things which the stand-up meetings are achieving. They are helping us to update all of us with the information of what's going on. They're helping us to coordinate each of us, like what's happening, to give us instructions somehow, and then to motivate us to continue the work. And I published an article about that on the blog. I'm just looking at it right now, and then under the article, many people commented saying that I'm talking about the manager, and while in a Scrum team there is no such a thing as a manager. There is Scrum Master, who is actually not a manager. So these stand-up meetings are not for the manager, but for the team. So I shouldn't stress the role of a manager as a single person, but instead the team is self-managing. The team is managing itself. So I'm not going to use the manager word anymore. That's okay. So let's say the whole team is there to motivate each of us. Maybe I'm not exactly right about these three things, but that's how I see. That's how I understand what's going on. So first of all, we stand around, and then we're supposed to give information. I'm saying, I'm as a programmer, I'm telling everybody, like, I was working yesterday on something, and then I'm going to work on something else, and you know what? I just finished the library, and I'm gonna update another library today, and I'm having problems because the library is outdated. So I'm gonna use instead of this version, I'm gonna try that version. So that's basically my information. So what is it? This is an update. So I'm updating 15 other people of what's my progress is, right? Right. And then the coordination. So some of them will say, you know what, how about you give me that job with the updating of a library and I give you something else, and then we just change the roles because I know more about this library. So we can coordinate, and that meeting we basically can change roles, or we can stop doing something and decide to do something else. That's the second part, the coordination. And then the number 3 is basically to motivate all of us. So if we are sitting remotely, for example, or we are just not communicating, we're just sitting in different corners in the office, and then, okay, I'm working on some library and another person is working on another library. If I don't, show my progress to anyone for many days, then I'm gonna get demotivated, and I kind of start feeling that my results are not interesting. Nobody's interested in my results, and my motivation will go down. So I need, like, every morning to show everybody that, look, I'm working on something, and they will say, wow, great, keep going, we need your results, we need that library, so keep going that direction. That keeps me motivated. So I think this is what this meeting is for. And all these 3 things, now I'm summarizing, all these 3 things should not be done through the meetings, because in each 3 of them, the meetings are doing a very bad job, the stand-up meetings, very bad job in actually updating, coordinating, and motivating. And now let's go one by one. So for the update, first of all, we lose a lot of time if we're doing it. First of all, we lose time, because 15 people are not necessarily interested in knowing what I'm working on. That's what I've seen in almost all meetings I've been attending before. One person is saying what he was doing, the other people are just making jokes, or just checking their iPhones, or just standing and looking around, because we're not interested to know that information, because this information do not concern us. This library does not necessarily concern me. If there's a team of 2 people, then yes, definitely an update will help me. But if the team is bigger, like 5, 10, 15 people, then the update one person is basically really a waste of time of a lot of people. So there are many more tools which will help us to update all of us, using other more effective ways. For example, we can use, I'm not saying they're perfect, but let's say newsletters. If I'm working on something, we just create a newsletter, and all the 15 people are subscribed to it, and I create a new message with the title, I don't know, Java update for this library, and I send the message to everybody. If they're not interested, they're not going to read. If they care about this specific problem, they will read, for example. Or I may have ticketing system. This is the ticket I'm working on. I just post an update in this ticket. This is my progress. Who is subscribed to this ticket, they will read. So why do we need to stay together in one room for 15 or 20 minutes and listening to the information which is not structured enough, which is not delivered to me in a disciplined, organized way? This basically shows me that the management, not the manager, but the management, us, the team, is not capable of structuring the information flows. So we cannot organize properly the flow of information in our group. So we don't know how to work with newsletters. We don't know how to work with ticketing system. We don't know how to work with online communication tools. I'm not saying this Slack, Skype, or whatever are perfect. They're not perfect, but still, it's better than meetings, because the information there is more structured. Let's set aside the problem with a multinational team when not everybody speaks English perfectly, like me. And for example, for me, listening to the update in English with an Australian accent is quite difficult. It would be much better for me to read this information in writing. Just read it, understand what's going on, and move on. It's just faster, it's more structured, and I will appreciate the organization of that information way more, instead of this, talking to each other. So using meetings for updates is just unprofessional. It's just the simplest and the most ineffective way of sharing information. There are way more there are way more means, instruments, which are way better. That's the first. The second one, for the update, and the second problem with the update is that actually the properly organized information flow works by the principle of pulling the information instead of pushing it. So I don't want anyone to push this information to me. I want to be able to pull it when I need it, something like that. It's more like I would say more about management here. So I mentioned that in the blog, so I'm looking at it right now. That's why I'm. So the good management is organized the way that the information comes to you when it's necessary. Not regularly, not like every day, but when you need it, when something changes, or when you need it. So this getting the information just every morning, it's quite, it's very simple and unprofessional. It's like, it's well, every morning you may get information about the weather, for example. Okay, I want to know what's going to be the weather every morning at 8 o'clock. What's going to be the weather for the day? That's reasonable. Or I want to get information of, let's say, how much was the downtime of our servers for yesterday, for the last day. So I want to get this information every morning at 8 o'clock. That's reasonable. But to get information of what people are working on or what are the problems with them just at 8 o'clock in the morning, it's too late or maybe too early. I want this information when it's appropriate to get it. Let's say you have a problem, then I want to know about this problem immediately if I'm interested in this information. If you started to work on some library, if I need this information, I want to know immediately. I don't want to wait for 8 o'clock in the morning. Maybe it's too late for me. Or maybe if I'm not interested in this information, maybe it's too early. I just don't update me with that. I don't care. I want to know like once a month, for example, or once a week. I don't want to know every day what you're working on. So it's this is kind of forcing this, giving me this information every morning is forcing me to digest it, to consume it, a specific amount of time every day. This is just not professional. It's just in a very simplistic way and primitive way. We can do way better. That's the first problem. The first aspect, the update. The second one is coordinate. So like I said, the meetings are here to coordinate and to help us sometimes change the tasks we're working on and maybe rotate something or change priorities or maybe cancel some tasks because of some new circumstances. Again, I'm saying that the meetings is not the right tool for that, because to coordinate what's going on, we are in the properly managed group, the tasks are, and the planning of these tasks and building plans and schedules and agendas must be done. If it's not by project manager, but I'm in general in favor of a properly assigned project manager role. But if there is no project manager role, still there should be some instruments and some mechanisms of how this responsibility is given to people and how this coordination is done. Just by circling around and just throwing this and making these decisions when 15 people are standing in front of you and just waiting to get back to their work, making decisions of who's going to do what, this is not the right place. If you really want to manage your schedule just by talking, which is definitely wrong. You should do it on paper. You should do it in some Gantt chart or whatever management software you use. But if you don't have that, you're extremely agile and you don't need to use any software, you just want to do it just on your fingers, then even in that case, you don't need 15 people to participate in that. Just organize a rescheduling meeting, just organize a meeting for replanning or changing priorities, and then just assign and then reassign tasks or whatever. So as a properly managed group, the properly managed team has has some technology or has some plans, some mechanisms for delegating responsibility to people. I mean, the article I'm saying, I'm kind of trying to position micromanagement instead of responsibility delegation, which is close here, because if in any team actually, there's still, if there is not a clearly assigned role of a project manager, there's still going to be people who are more or less, they will look like they're managing the team. It's inevitable. It's not possible to have a team of 10 people where there's nobody's managing no one. The team cannot manage itself. There has to be some people who have more respect, who have more authority, who have more power, and they will inevitably make decisions of what's going on. And they will become managers, even though they're not titled project managers. They are titled team leads or whatever, but they will manage somehow. And these people will start to micromanage if we allow them to make these decisions just by a stand-up, just saying, you know what, you stop working on that and you start working on something else. By just making these decisions, this is called micromanagement, because the proper management is about giving somebody an area of responsibility. We'll talk about it a little bit later. Giving the area of responsibility and just letting this person do what it needs to be done. But the micromanagement is about telling this person how should be done, when exactly, and when to stop, when to start. In a stand-up, the stand-up encourages us to micromanage. Encourages us because the person who we manage, we do manage people on the stand-up. These people who we manage, they will inevitably have to reply immediately. They will have to respond immediately. And most people are not comfortable in doing that. And they will have to just nod their heads and say, yes, yes, I'll do whatever you say. Because it's difficult to argue when 15 people are standing in front of you. So the people who are weaker, I mean mentally, they will inevitably start to obey any order they receive. And people who are stronger, they will start to control that weaker people. It's just going to happen. It's just natural. And because of that, the micromanagement will flourish, and we will have more and more of this micromanagement. So the stand-up actually promotes this way of management. The proper management is not happening in public like this, and it's not happening in orders given in public in front of everybody else. The proper management is done on paper. The proper management is written in documents which say how we work, what do we do, what are the plans, and what goals are we trying to achieve. I'll discuss it a bit later. And number 3, the motivation. The motivation, so we are trying, like I said, we don't want to sit in our own corners, and just working for a few days. And we want to show our results to somebody, and we want we want to feel that what we are doing is basically somebody needs that. And these stand-up meetings are supposed to solve this goal, to satisfy this goal, and to help us to be more motivated. When people are, I've seen this many times as well, when there is a distributed team, somebody is working remotely and they're sitting at home, it's just absolutely necessary, very, very much necessary, to do the stand-ups, to get these people together in the Skype or some group chat, the video chat, in order to shake them a little bit so they continue to work and can work for another day. And that helps. And that helps because I can understand somebody sitting at home in another country, and then something is happening in another country, in the main office, in the head office. So why I would care about what's going on? They gave me some task. The task is long, for about a week of work. I will probably 3 days do nothing, and then maybe in the end we'll try to catch up. This is just natural to anybody. And that's why, in order to prevent it from happening, we just shake them up every morning, just say, hey, we're looking for your results. Don't forget, just keep people motivated. And this is horrible. This is wrong. Why it's wrong? Because this is not motivation. This is motivation based on fear, basically. It's the motivation based on the most primitive and the most simplistic feelings in me as a human. So you're just trying to basically shake me, like I just said, every day, and basically you're punishing me by these regular video calls, instead of giving me the real motivation, instead of giving me the real goals and the real motivation, which in most cases I believe should be attached to money. So instead of saying to me, instead of giving me objectives which I'm interested to follow and to aim, instead of telling me that, this is 5 days for you to work on this task, if you finish it in 3 days, you're gonna get $200 more. That would motivate me. In this case, I don't need any morning stand-ups. I just know that this extra 2 days, I will gain something if I complete it faster. I don't want to talk to you on Skype about anything. I know my goals. I know my objectives. If I need some information, I'm going to email you for that, or I'm going to ask the question in the ticket or whatever. But I don't want anybody to ask me how you're doing. I know how I'm doing. As soon as I finish, I get back to you and say, where's my $200? This is the proper motivation, the ideal. Maybe it shouldn't be the $200. Maybe it should be something else. Maybe it should be, I don't know, a new computer or a new position or a transfer to an interesting project, whatever. It's up to the team to decide how to motivate its members. But this is a positive motivation, while morning stand-ups is a negative motivation. So the morning stand-ups is basically, it motivates me to work because otherwise I will be embarrassed if I don't show any results. So if I show up on this morning meeting and there is no results for me, or I'm behind my plan, then I'm going to say, hey, I'll try to make up something. I'll say, yeah, I was working, it was so hard, it's so difficult, but, I'm solving the problem. I will basically lie, and you know how it works. So I will just make up the impediments. I'll create something because I'm not motivated. My main motivation is not to feel embarrassed on the meeting. It's a negative motivation. It motivates me to the minimum. So it just motivates me not to be fired. It doesn't motivate me to perform way better than anybody else or than myself. The positive motivation is when my personal goals are attached to the goals of the team. If the team wants this product to be delivered faster, or to be delivered, with a certain quality, or to be delivered with a certain amount of requirements, then we just need to transfer these objectives to personal objectives of people who work with us and say, if you, Jeff, gonna complete these 2 features in this week, and our product will reach the market faster because of that, you will get something from it, you personally. Then this Jeff will work, very effectively, the mostly effective. I mean, his effectiveness will be the highest. And he won't need any morning meetups because he knows what he's working for. He is capable of managing himself. But on the morning meetups, that's another aspect. We basically don't trust people. We don't respect them. We think that they're not self-motivated, that we need to shake them up every morning, because otherwise they're going to get lazy and they're going to do nothing. So we, as bad managers, we as an improperly organized team, we will have to do this, is shaking up every morning, because we don't trust our people, we don't respect them, we don't feel them that they are professionals, we don't want to give them personal goals, which will be financial or not financial, but personal. We just, lie to them that our mutual goal is the most important thing, and they lie to us that they are very effective. And the morning stand-ups encourage us to follow these principles of management. So the motivation is, for the motivation, there are many more mechanisms which need to be personally aligned. I mean, they need to be aligned with personal goals of each individual, of each programmer. That's the idea. And now to summarize, instead of using stand-up meetings, a properly organized team, instead of this instrument of management which is called daily stand-up, a proper team or proper manager but we're saying team, has three things. The first one, awards. The second one, penalties. The third one is rules. So when the team wants to be organized and disciplined, the team needs, first of all, to define the rules of what are the rules of work, how we communicate, how we deliver results, how we document our specifications, how we deliver, how we present this, our product to the customer. All kind of rules have to be defined, and they have to be as explicit as possible. So these rules have to tell everybody, all the team members, of how they can achieve their own personal goals in this project. So the rules, it's a group of people, and every single person wants to work for himself or herself. That's natural. That's how we are designed. And to manage us, we basically need to enforce, or let's not use the word enforce, but we need to motivate and organize us to work for somebody else. So the project is somebody else. So we all together working to achieve some result which belongs to somebody else. So we need to know why we are doing that. So why I'm spending my 8 hours a day to help somebody else, what I'm getting back. So in order for me to be interested to continue in this work, to be interested to deliver my code, to deliver my time, to give my time to somebody, to this project, then I need to know what I'm getting back. So these rules basically define of how I can give something from, how I can give something and how I get something back. So the rules, like I said, in project management, they are called management plans. Communication plan, communication management plan, scope management plan, time management plan, risk management plan. There are many, like not many, but I think 9 management plans, which in a properly organized team, they have to be defined. So anyone who jump into the team has to understand that how exactly communication is happening here. Communication is happening through these channels. So we use newsletters for asking this type of questions. We use Git to deliver code, but not to deliver specifications, whatever. The specifications we define in Wiki. So all these rules must be defined. That's first. The second is awards. So rewards. So how this project is going to give, how much I'm going to get back if I follow the rules and I'm being productive. That's the second thing which a proper project has to give to its members. Besides rules, we give awards. We give, it's not necessarily money, but in most cases it's money, it's cash. So we're going to pay you for this, this, and that if you deliver that amount and that amount and that amount. And it has to be explicitly said what's the point for me to work on this project. And number 3 is penalties. This is inevitable. We have to define that as well. Without penalties, no project can survive. No project can be organized. We can't have any discipline if we don't have penalties. So they have to be defined and explicitly defined. So we're going to probably talk about it in next webinars as well, but we have to make it explicit for everybody. What are the consequences if the rules are broken? What are the consequences if I deliver slower than, for example, or I deliver lower quality than it's expected from me? So these penalties have to be explicitly defined. And then they can be financial, they can be organizational, they can be whatever. There are many of them. They can be good and bad. They can be a really bad punishment methods. Again, I have an article about it on the blog about bad punishment methods, or you can use a proper methods of punishment, which will actually help everybody, which everybody will like, which everybody will appreciate, and they will understand why I'm being punished that way for my faults. It's not necessarily, but anyway, you can read the article. So there are three things which we need to have in any team: awards, penalties, and rules. If we have them, we don't need these stand-up meetings. because in the rules we define the flow of information. We know how information come and go, how we update ourselves. I know where I'm going to get the data, where I'm going to get the information when I need it. I know where to go, I know where to download it, I know where I ask my questions. I don't need to stand up in front of everybody. So update problem is solved. The second, coordination. As well, we have in the rules, we have properly defined instruments of coordination. So I know the time, we have time management plan and scope management plan. So I know where's the schedule, I know where's the definition of tasks, I know where to find my tasks, I know where I can cancel my task, where I can say I can't complete the task, where I can change the duration, where I can register my impediments. I know where it's happening. So we have rules for that. We have an organized mechanisms. And number three, so the coordination, we don't need stand-up meetings for that. We have this coordination already. And number three, for the motivation, we have awards and penalties. So we don't need to motivate me on a stand-up. You don't need to embarrass me in front of everybody else if I just fail my task. I know what's going to be the consequences. I'm a grown-up adult. I don't need to be punished as a kid in front of everybody else. Just don't, I don't know, just deduct $100 from my bonus, for example. Or, I don't know, give me less tasks if I fail these tasks. Just treat me as an adult instead of a kid. I don't want to stand up and to stand in front of everybody and say, you know what, yeah, I failed my task yesterday, I'm sorry. I don't want to say I'm sorry. I want to have clearly defined penalties and awards, which will tell me exactly what's happening if I violate, if I do not perform well, or if I break the rules or something like that. So for the motivation, we also don't need stand-up meetings. So that's exactly what was my point. I think I'm more or less finished. And now we can get to the questions. The question number one, how do you feel about retrospective discussions at the end of an iteration? Well, that I think is not a bad idea. I'm not really in general in favor of meetings where people sit together and discuss, because I think in general we have computers now. So that was necessary 100 years ago. When we didn't have computers, we didn't have instruments for that. Now we have online tools for retrospectives as well. I've seen some website for that, just a cloud solution for retrospectives. Sitting together in one office and discussing in general, organizing meetings where people are present and physically present for the specific amount of time, like now. So I'm talking, you're listening, we're all locked for a specific amount of time. But here it's okay because I deliver your information, you're just listening. You're just listening quietly, you can do with something else, you can, I don't know, eat popcorn, but this is okay because I'm delivering you the information. Delivering which in a way which for some people are better delivered instead of in a written form. And you can ask me questions back. But still the same can happen on the blog. So there is an article where I explain everything I'm just saying now, and you can go to the comments, post your questions, and I will be able to answer them when I have time. So I think that in general, this way of communication through computing systems, through websites, through digital system, digital means, is in general way more effective than sitting in the same room. Because also, like I said, in the meeting, usually whoever is stronger gets the microphone. And we're talking about programmers who are in general introverted people, and they're not really, most of them don't feel comfortable just speaking loud in front of everybody and strongly arguing against some point. So for most people, for me as well, it's sometimes easier to write what you think, to give some links, to create the proper answer, and then get a response. So the same for retrospectives. I think it's better in general to use digital tools instead of making meetings. Meetings is from the past. It was 50 years ago when we didn't have phones, we didn't have computers, we didn't have proper instruments to exchange information. That's why people had meetings. But I believe that in 20 years, we're not going to have any meetings at all. We just don't need these meeting rooms, because I haven't, I can use a mobile phone sitting on in cafe and just, see what other people are saying and say something back. So, in general, the retrospectives is good to look back and see what happened and analyze how did we perform over the iteration. But making meetings for that, I'm against that in general. Another question: do you believe that rank and file developers need to be present and product demos? Well, I think that in general, the closer programmers stay to the customer, the better. So I think that in ideal situation, customer has to work directly with programmers. So the customer has to know who is writing the code, and anybody who is between the customer, the product owner, the somebody who is paying, who is giving cash to create the product, anybody who is standing between this person and the people who write the code, it's just redundant. So we need to remove this layer at all, if possible, as much as possible. So ideally, the customer has to be inside the team, working together with programmers, and communicating with them, trying to speak their language, even if it's possible. It's not always possible. So answering your question about the making demo, then I think yes, programmers, they must work in direct. They must be presenting their product to the customer and do it as frequently as possible. It shouldn't be just demo days. I'm in general in favor of more frequent deliveries, like every second day, something like that. So instead of waiting for too long, just organize continuous delivery and make sure that the product is always in front of the customer, like being updated multiple times a day. In that case, you seriously reduce the stressfulness of the demo, and you eliminating a lot of risks, because the customer will see what's being developed every half an hour, and you will get a happier customer and less stressful development, because developers will not be afraid of this deadline, of this big demo day. They will just know that the customer is together with them, and the customer is aware of what's going on, and the product is in front of the customer's eyes. So you don't need to do this extra demos, special days for that. So that's what I think about meetings. We can make this webinar shorter, just 40 minutes. Read the article. It's about exactly that subject, about stand-up meetings. And there's also an article about meetings in general, which explains why I think they are something not productive for software teams. And happy coding. Enjoy. Try to get rid of your stand-up meetings. Try to not use them, and you will see how. Try to be productive instead of standing up. Try to be productive. Thanks for listening. See you next month, the first Wednesday of the month, 11 in the morning, Pacific time. Thanks.